Hello, I'm TRIEU Linh, a second-year communication student, and this is my learning journey for the ICP campaign project. The most significant insight gained from this course is that to adapt to the digital landscape, cultural elements must be integrated into modern communication in a creative and meaningful way, rather than superficially using symbols. This realization stemmed from a communications campaign project for La Table Hà Nội, a fine dining restaurant seeking to rebuild its brand communications through a balanced positioning. While researching case study, I noticed that applying culture in the F&B industry was new. However, I didn't want the cultural elements to be acronym, meaningless, or appropriate. The challenge was how to convey the art of lacquer art with creative, fresh, and compelling story in the context of fine dining restaurant. As a strategic planner, this probably became obsessions. I began to realize that I need to create big idea capable of shifting perceptions and generating ripple effect, rather than just coming up with small decorative idea. This was a strategic turning point for me, from seeing culture as a decorative element to honoring as a fresh source of creative inspiration that bring depth, storytellings, and sustainable value for every communication project. This experience fundamentally changed my understanding of communication strategy, shifting from cultural misuse to cultural celebration. Through my research, I realized that Gen Z, who grew up in an era of cultural fusion, see national identity as a key factor in shaping their unique identity. Many brands have capitalized on cultural material to win over this audience. However, the challenge is to be selective and thoughtfully consider which elements are appropriate for each campaign and product. Otherwise, the result will feel forced or saturated. As a key feature of the Hanoi system, lacquer art is a cultural element rarely used in F&B, and this campaign positions La Table Hà Nội as an art-driven fine dining destination. This shifted my goal from simply using cultural imagery to designing a metaphor that convey an emotional story. Design thinking provides a structure for this, especially through the idea stage, where I search for new ideas to convey culture. When I applied this framework, I realized that after understanding the customer and defining the problem, the next step is an aimless brainstorming, but generating a series of creative ideas to solve that problem. To answer the questions, how can lacquer art culture be conveyed with a story, creatively and freshly? I advise combining art and cuisine into a living stream. The list of 10 qualities that set big idea apart help me identify potential ideas that develop the big idea. Artery, the pulse of art, which met at least 3 criteria: transformations, originality, and contagiousness. This helped me distinguish big idea from not so big idea. This wasn't just a single campaign, but a brand's repositioning strategy, capable of changing customer perceptions and creating an immutable, unique experience. When defining the creative concept, I struggled to differentiate it from the big idea and key message. Applying the principle of creative advertising, I realized that an idea is just a thought, but a concept is that what linked to the product and target market. The book showed that an idea can be created in many forms, such as an image, beating, artery, or the flow of river, a word like life, connections, or pools, or philosophy of fusion. This principle transformed my idea from a notion into a framework for developing the entire restaurant experience. From there, I defined the creative concept that redefines multisensory dining through a fresh, metaphorical image, while we established the brand's artistic identities for a modern audience. A benefit of understanding the structure and principle of idea generation is that it's helped me solve the client challenge more effectively. This experience changed my view of creative ideas, showing me that they aren't just flashes or insight, but must be developed through a structured, purposeful process. I also realized that creative work can be failed before a single word is written, simply because the strategy is wrong, a point highlighted in an article about creative teams. Working on La Table Hà Nội project, this insight woke me up to the danger of winging it and bypassing strategy. We fell into a cycle of generating a bunch of meaningless ideas that abuse cultural imagery before realizing they couldn't solve the core problem. Ultimately, this understanding helped me recognize that in the digital age, culture isn't a static, decorative element. It's a living force for connections. This is especially crucial when working with younger generations like Gen Z, who are eager to find their unique identity in a globalized world. This shift helped me transcend the boundaries of typical content creator to become a strategic planner. In my future course, such as client management, I will apply this principle to develop ideas structurally. I will no longer rely solely on student aspirations. I will start by searching for big ideas that can shift perceptions and create a viral impact. In my future career, especially working with brands, I will always set the strategic goal of honoring culture as a fresh source for creative inspirations. bringing storytelling depth and sustainable value to every communications project. This will help me create campaigns that not only attract but also build the relationship with customers, especially the younger generations. In my personal life, I will always apply this strategic mindset to resolve the problem systematically. I will learn to see the issue not just the surface, but in depth, finding more creative and meaningful solutions that will make me more proactive and effective in all aspects of life. This shift paved the way for me to become the strategic planner I will aim to be, someone who connects deeply with brand, has a clear strategic vision. Thank you for listening.